This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. From the corporate office to the cab of a truck, they're here to inspire and empower women in all professions. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. We're a show that works to inspire and empower women in every profession and lifestyle. Whether you're at home, in the office, or in the cab of a truck, we help power you on the road to success. We tackle all kinds of topics and work to encourage women to be their very best with informative guests and women who've been champions. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Kathy.
No topic is taboo on our rig. We tackle the tough topics along with the not-so-tough topics. And we like to feature experts and celebrities who can assist women in being the very best they can be. Dating is one of those topics. We've covered it before, but it's never too much to talk about because it's an important one. Sometimes it seems women have to kiss a lot of frogs before they can find the right one. Some end up with some real doozies. And some of these guys have even been referred to as pigs when they're the obvious wrong choice. Today we have Michael Coogan, the co-author of Know Your Man, Playful Relationship Advice for Understanding Your Pig. Michael wrote this humorous book that's informative with William Burton. This great book talks about women who selected their man based on instinct, took him home, and sooner or later discovered not only did they have the wrong man, they in fact had acquired a real pig. They try to train him, but that just makes him ill-tempered and ornery. Nobody wants an ornery pig. So they dump him and they go back to the pig pen to select another man who's often worse than the first one. As the book discusses, this cycle of embarrassment, frustration, and heartache dealing with total pigs can continue for years as women search for that special man to enjoy their life with. Michael has some terrific and humorous insight to help women stop making these mistakes. He can describe the 9 different types of men, which is based on psychological tests. Welcome, Michael. This is terrific to have you on the show with us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being on your show today.
You know, this is going to be a fun discussion. We've all heard the phrase, men can be real pigs. So what motivated you and your co-author to write about men who end up being real?
Good description. A couple of things. I have an older sister, and we used to have the conversation of her frustrations with meeting men, and she always seemed to pick the bad guy, and try to make it work. And simply, like you said before, just go back and forth, trying to find over and over again. And I used to tell her, I said, look, men are simple, but we're not stupid. You guys are complex and make things complex. And if you can kind of learn the perspective and angle and types of people we are, we're a lot easier to deal with and work with. And one of the things I told her is, there's always this premise that most people have that men and women pick each other. And at the end of the day, we used to say, no, women choose men. Men don't choose women. I mean, women have the ultimate choice at the end of the day. I mean, if something's going to go forward, it's going to be based on the woman saying yes, not the man. So we used to think, well, why don't women know all these things? And my friend Burton, we're complete polar opposites. We work together in high tech industry. We used to get together at lunch and dinners and talk and have this humorous conversation. And then we started sharing that with people. And then I used to do some training in sales processes, and I would use relationships as an example for explaining communication in business, and people would laugh at it. So that's kind of the origination of it. And we thought, well, we should write this down and share some of the tips and perspectives from a male's perspective so that women would have some tools and approaches to be able to do this differently than what's assumed.
Well, it really resonates because I've heard more than once women talking, God, he's a real pig. It's just so appropriate. So what constitutes a pig versus a man?
Excuse me. Well, I mean, we kind of did the tongue in cheek when that term came up. I was actually meeting with some people in San Jose and told a joke, and a woman walked by. It was very crowded. We were outside on the patio, and a woman walked by and kind of overheard the punchline. And she just said, you guys are pigs. You guys are all pigs. And I said, well, wait a minute. And I said, that's not fair. I said, you're right. We are, but there's good pigs and there's bad pigs, just like there's anything else in life. So why don't you know your pig? And aren't you picking good pigs? And she turned around and said, what are you talking about? And unfortunately, the friends that were with me had no idea that I already had the outline of the book. I was planning on doing this. she goes, "Can I sit down?" I said, "Sure." And I said, "Look," I said, there's good pigs and bad pigs. And if you understood how you select them, have some communication tips and approaches, and look at it with a little bit of humor, we're a lot easier to work with and help you find what you want." And guys that are real pigs know themselves and don't have a problem with being themselves, and they want a relationship just like you do. So don't label us all as bad pigs. So one of the things we did was there's lots of psychological character tests out there, and one we chose was the Enneagram test. And I flew out and met Dr. Daniels, who was a Stanford PhD professor, who created the Enneagram, and met with him and said, "Can we use your output for this?" Because it applies to men and women, but it's a real simple test. It has 9 character types, and it falls into, pretty much everybody can find their type, and your characteristics find in that. So if you know the type of pig you're looking for a man, and you know the state of mind they're in, women are very complex. One of the other things we did was the science behind women's brains and men's brains is completely different. There was a female researcher called Lou Brezadine, I believe is how you pronounce it, who wrote a book called The Female Brain. And she was an MIT and Harvard professor who basically did a lot of scientific research and got a lot of flack for her output, but basically said the woman's brain is much more dense, smaller. It grows holistically. At 16 weeks, when testosterone gets injected to the man's brain, it kind of disturbs the brain and focuses, doesn't grow holistically. Less neurons, grows bigger, focuses on hunting, gathering, sexual conquest. Those areas grow bigger than the others. So the net of it was that women's brains they're able to multitask. They can do multi-functions, multi-emotions. They can process things a lot quicker, which makes for the complexity. So having those two things and go, okay, well, if women act this way and men act that way, what we broke it down is how do you simplify figuring out what a man is and how they act? One of the things we say is, most men, and when, one of the things the woman said too, she said, "Well, you guys are always horny." And I said, no. Men are in one of 6 states, 90% of the time. And depending on that state is how you want to interact with them. So the 6 states are happy, hungry, horny, hurried, tired, and angry. And I used to say, look, if
sounds like the 7 dwarfs.
Right, exactly.
Snow White.
Yeah, what dwarf are you?
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
I said I could tell you when I'm angry, I am not horny, and when I'm hungry, So, you can have some fun with it, and from a communication point of view and stuff. It's like, okay, when I'm hungry, I can't think. And so the conversation became really fun, and she started having fun. And I said, look, guys get guys, and you guys overthink it because you're complex. But if you simplify it and look at it from our perspective, it's a lot easier for you.
So there are 9 pig types. What are the 9 pig types?
Well, we had taken the output of the Enneagram and kind of labeled them just so we could have it. So basically the types are the excellent pig, the charitable pig, acrobat, sentimental, watcher, unbeliever, gourmet, guard pig, and diplomat. So I'm a type 7 gourmet pig, which means I like good food, good wine, enjoyable times, make sure everybody's happy, having a fun, high energy, get everybody talking, stuff like that. My co-author, Burton, is a type 3 pig. He's the Brian Dennehy type, the very astute, conservative, has a huge presence, doesn't say a lot, walks into a room and everybody's like, "Oh my God, who's this guy?" Quiet and speaks with authority. And people look at us and go, how do you two get together? But we have a synergy kind of like you two do, and it just connects. Mm-hmm. So we took the output of the Enneagram types and said, okay, how do we break this down and say, okay, this is kind of the characteristics. And when you read, there's short paragraphs that say, and the whole book's not huge. It's 120 pages or so. The whole idea is to have fun, get an idea of the types of people, put a framework around and a process around how you engage people under the structure of having a conversation. And guys, like a lot of women say, well, there's no good men out there. Well, that's not true. There are good men out there.
That's not true.
Right. Yeah.
I come from a very abusive background my entire life. And so I had a real issue with men, and my the way I viewed them. And I ended up becoming a heavy equipment operator, going into a man's world. And literally, I was only the third woman hired, and we're now 170, and there's only 12 women. And
Wow.
I was really apprehensive about that. But let me tell you something. I've been there for 9 years, and I have learned that there are so many good men. And whatever the ones that I chose, the pigs that I chose were, okay, maybe the two worst pigs that I chose, I was really under the influence of alcohol, so you don't make good decisions, right? Right?
Yeah.
And then once I was in it, I was like, oh, how do I get out, right? But my job has taught me there's some excellent men out there that they have taught me about, patience and just general goodness all around.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
And I tell women that a lot. Don't base your don't put all the men in the one pot, right? Because just because you had bad experiences, one or two or three, that doesn't mean they're all like that.
Right.
Right. Well, and there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of men out there when we were interviewing them and stuff like that. And friends of mine and people today, a lot of good men hate the fact that a lot of other men have screwed it up for them.
Yeah.
And so they're on the same page as women.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Michael, did you want to maybe go through the different pigs, the 9 different pig types? Type 1 I'm seeing is the excellence pig. Maybe kind of summarize all the characteristics for everybody. That'd be good.
Well, I can go. I can going through each one is kind of. I can go in a little bit on each one. I can tell you more about me and Burton and stuff. I mean, each one is kind of unique. I would say that is more of a personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that we found with people is that a lot of them, the communication questions and style and versus the personality types, people usually have, 1 or 2 or 3 types they like, outward, expressive types versus the actual communication. The communication seemed to be the types that got people really interested in terms of how they communicated with somebody, the man.
Are there?
But I can if you like. I can go whatever you like to do. I mean, you can do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just a brief sentence for each one, because I think women want to know which is the most desirable pig, or which one should be bacon.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's specific to a woman.
Okay.
So what you like might not be what someone else likes, and it's that's like I said. We've had times when we've talked with women's groups and I did a speech with 20 women here last year here in Scottsdale. And, one of the things that's interesting about this kind of dialogue is that in the book, even though it's a small book and it's humorous and all that, it becomes the item that allows men and women to open up and talk proactively without having their guard up.
Mm-hmm.
Because the item becomes okay, well, what type are you? And guys that are real and authentic, usually if they don't know about the Enneagram or psychological tests, most of them do. They'll say, oh, I'm this type of person. They want to have that dialogue to showcase who they are.
Right.
And as I said, with some of the women groups and people we've talked to in the past, they'd say, well, I'd say here, I'm type 7. I'm, gregarious, hearty, in your face. Burton's very reserved, quiet, likes to have his wife on his arm and walk, with a lot of sophistication through a place and be revered and stuff. And women would say, well, I don't like that type. I like this type. I've dated that type. I don't like this type.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, I'm comfortable with being who I am. Then don't pick my type. You're the one that picks me. So it's a response. There's a 2-role responsibility. One, the woman's got to choose the guy and know what she's choosing.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
The guy needs the biggest downside to this is that women would come back and go, well, guys aren't being guys. Well, you're picking the wrong guys. Find guys that are real because they are very authentic and they will say who they are.
Right.
And they'll be proud of it.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
Michael, your insight is just terrific in this book, and it's amusing at the same time, but I think it really drives home a point and is offering some great information on dating. I was thinking if we could unpack each personality type, the pig type, people could have a better concept of what you're doing, what you wrote. The excellence pig, is that somebody that's a perfectionist or?
Yeah, let me pull the book up. I forgot some of those guys that I don't know off the top of my head, but
I've had to change my, when I look at my pattern of choices in men over the years, I've actually, the ones that I'm attracted to, I've now decided, because I've been single for a while, and I decided, you know what, whatever I'm attracted to, I'm not going for.
right.
I'm going to try something different, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Go through the types and pick out the type of pig you like.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then start looking for it. And if they don't qualify on it, then cut them loose.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Oh.
I mean,
I probably dated every kind of pig you could imagine.
yeah. Oh yeah. Right. So like if you go so we go through the types, like so excellence pigs, you know, we said they're conscientious, ethical, with a strong, persistent, pig-headed sense of right and wrong.
Okay.
I mean, you can tell, I'm sure you've talked to people that based on the, you know, when you back up a minute, when you talk about looking at this from a structure and a framework in your mind of, okay, what type is this person? What state are they in? And how are they communicating? Just those, asking yourself those three questions puts you in a whole different perspective when you're talking to a man.
Right.
You're listening for things like that says, you know, right and wrong all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they have this whole, like everything, you know, one of the things we said in it is that, you know, excellent pig will launch into sudden and puzzling crusades to make changes to the pen. So it's like, this has got to be right. You know, you've seen those type of people like right and wrong, black and white. There's no gray.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and does that work for you? Right? Is that your type of person that you like or not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
You know, it says, like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to go on to the next pig, but if you had something else to add, that's fine.
I was going to say, you know, one of the summaries we said about it is that, you know, they're usually loners in the pen because other pigs get tired of the constant fixes going on around them. You know, not surprising they have problems with resentment and impatience.
Yeah.
Like, you know, as a guy, I've worked with guys like that where I had a guy in marketing I worked with who, you know, when he fixed a PowerPoint slide, he was so anal retentive about it had to be this way, right,
Mm-hmm.
wrong. And it's like, anytime you engage with this guy, we're like, oh my God, Alan's a type 1. Like, I don't have time. I don't have time to deal with this.
Yeah. Type 2 is a charitable pig. What is that?
So charitable pig is like a caring interpersonal type. You know, this is, you know, we said often considered to be, you know, rare and desirable by women. So, you know, their feelings get hurt. They retreat to corner if you kind of say something negative about them. They're very sensitive, you know, and they kind of stay stuck in their for a while because they get up in their head. You know, they're possessive and they have problems saying what their needs are. So you're always trying to figure out what they're doing, what they're saying. So it's like, you know, it's almost kind of like I'd always call it kind of like the mama's boy that you're always fighting the relationship with their mom because you can never understand what they want.
Yeah, you don't want to have a guy where you know the mother-in-law is going to probably, you know, be sharing your bed in his head.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, they sulk a lot. They get, you know, very codependent on things. And, you know, guys typically don't have number 2 guys, pigs as friends.
Okay.
Just too much.
Now, type 3 is an acrobat pig.
Yes. So that's Burton. My co-author Burton is an acrobat pig, you know, very success oriented, self-assured, smooth, charming, sophisticated, you know, brings home the bacon, you know, has a standard for his relationship. You know, they're typically workaholics, you know, work long hours, you know, want to do the right thing, make sure they're the provider, ambitious, you know, they have high energy, but there's not very like outward spoken, you know, and then one of the things we put in there, and me and Burton had a good laugh about this, is be very careful though. Don't laugh at them because they can be vindictive as hell.
Ooh.
And that's very true about him. You know, I'll call him on his BS sometimes and, oh my God, the wrath.
But this is good for women to know. Certainly, they know how to approach their pig.
Right.
So type 4 is a sentimental pig.
Yeah. So think of the type 4 as an artist, creative type. Okay. You know, very, very introspective and romantic, and you know, a little bit moody. You know, they're very always dealing with their inner angst and, trying to resolve that. And there's never a solution for that. And, so they're very, again, I always say like creative type. I mean, again, the Enneagram applies to women and to men.
Right.
And I would say, my sister is the artist type. She fits the same thing. So it's the same thing with the man. I mean, it's very, very spirited. Mm-hmm. At the same time, that whole is they're always in their head about something and their creativity and everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So maybe they can be a bit distracted, but maybe also have more empathy.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, you've seen the artist type. They dress that way. They got the creative type,
sure.
man bun, and the, all the other stuff, and
yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got their Lululemon pants on, and
yeah.
Sure. Now, type 5's the watcher pig.
Yeah. So watchers are guys that are like the brainiac type, very smart, always observing, always right. You have all the knowledge. They're the guys that, you get stuck in a corner at a party and you can't shut them up. They tell you how smart they are.
Yeah.
You're looking for ways to escape.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They sit there and tell you, look, I'm a really important person. I'm really smart. And if you don't believe me, then, ask anybody around here. And then they talk to you about 30 minutes about that. And then they'll stop and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've been occupying the conversation. What do you think about me? Go ahead. You tell me about me now.
They're kind of the know-it-alls that make you want to really gag.
Right.
Yeah.
You ask them the time and they build you a watch. They build the factory and, mine the dirt and everything else to get it there.
Oh, that's funny.
Now, type 6 is the unbeliever pig.
Yeah. So think of unbeliever pigs as, as people that want to be part of the team, want to be, part of the group. Right. So, they say that a lot, but then they only participate a little bit, maybe a quarter to a third of the time. So, it's like they kind of overwhelm you, maybe even just, I don't know, what's the term? There's, I don't know, these different terms these days for relationships, but where they just kind of smother you with love and attention. And as soon as you say yes or you're interested, then they back off and go, well, yeah, but I'm kind of busy too.
That sounds like a narcissist.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're great for the setup, but then they're like, hey, let's play now. Yeah.
Right. So we say they're kind of like Dobermans, they show best when they have a task they can execute well on and receive praise for it. But if you leave them alone, they'll assign them something that has nothing to do with what you're dealing with.
Oh, funny. That's a great description. Type 7's the gourmet pig. Is this somebody who cooks a lot or?
So that's me. I'm a 7. And yes, I do cook. I love to cook. Okay. But yeah, awesome. Gourmet pig is more of just enjoying the great things of life. Okay. Right. And yes, I can speak from experience. It can be completely overwhelming. I'm described as, the switch is either on or off. There's no gray area. So it's, we can have very diverse interests and be enthusiastic across the board on all of them. Yeah. And so, part of the things we do is we're very process oriented, and we always have a vision for constructing the patterns of what we're seeing and things like that. And it can be very daunting because it's kind of like nonlinear thinking sometimes, where people are mostly linear.
And what's the next pig type I'm looking at? Type 8 is the guard pig. Is this somebody that really watches over and you feel safe with this pig, or?
Yeah, guard pigs are challenger pigs type. We say they're like kind of challenge. The best way to describe guard pigs is they're kind of like the, for lack of a better word, the New York style mentality, that in your face, very direct.
What's the matter, you type thing.
Yeah. You're talking to me? You're looking at me, right. You're talking to me?
Yeah.
One of my close friends in New York, Bill Brown, and he's a guard pig, and he's like that. Someone would look at him at a restaurant, and he's like, yeah, you have a question? Can I help you? You looked over at me. What do you need? Very intense, very intense.
Okay.
But very protective, right? And very, very self-confident. Almost, there's a difference between the narcissistic kind of mentality versus the overconfident type.
Okay.
Yeah. Takes a lot of risks, not afraid of confrontation, welcomes confrontation.
Type 9 I'm seeing is the diplomat pig.
Yeah. So I'm always laughing when you're saying that out loud, because I have so many friends that are all these different types, and it just brings to mind their personality as soon as you say it. But, it's literally like a diplomat, very sophisticated, very assured, very confident, feels they can influence everybody. They're like the center of it. They're not the center of attention, but they're the guys that kind of slow everything around them. Right. So one of the examples we use in the book is said, James Taylor is a type 9 pig, has that kind of very sophisticated, nice, but they always have the can't we all just get along? They don't like when people aren't happy and getting along, but they're very sophisticated about how they deal with it and making sure that there's, things are peaceful, communication takes precedence, and that they can help bridge the communication between everybody.
Okay.
So they see all the situations without being stuck in it themselves. So, and again, I'm sure both of you have experienced people like that, where I think to women that have complained about it was like, we could never they're always constantly trying to do stuff outside themselves. So I can never understand what they're about.
Yeah. And I think there's some men out there that really don't want you to know them. They want this air of mystery, and maybe it's kind of a game. That's frustrating. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Get real.
I call that the secret type 10, which we didn't put in the book, which is someone who's lost their inner pig. They don't want to know.
I like that. Oh my goodness. You don't want to lose your inner pig. Okay.
Yeah. I actually said that to a guy at a bar one time when he was negating the whole conversation with a bunch of women, and he was a little bit drunk. And I said, "You've lost your inner pig." And it almost came to blows because he was so pissed off. I challenged his ego. You're taking yourself way too serious, guy. This is supposed to be fun. There's supposed to be, women like fun.
Yeah.
Share who you are, have fun with it. They're going to pick you. You don't get to decide. I think the hardest part for men is letting go of that. They're making the decision. They're not.
Well, if they do any kind of reading, and if they watch Mother Nature, it's the female who selects the mate.
Absolutely.
It's not the other way around.
Right. Right. Where have you ever heard the guy comes out and goes, "Yeah, look, I met her and I picked her, and yeah, we're getting along great and so lucky."
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Trucking Moves America Forward, or TMAF, is building a positive image of trucking by telling the story of the hardworking drivers and industry professionals who support the industry. And you can be a part of it. Learn more about TMAF and how you can join and be a part of the industry movement working to build a strong image of trucking by visiting TMAF's website at truckingmovesamerica.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our latest channel, TikTok.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
So, Kathy, I know I've probably dated a number of these different pigs. How about you?
Well, I can't really say the two men that I was with before my recent ex-husband, they were it was all about domestic violence, and it was just pigs in general, right?
Right.
My ex-husband that I just left, it's been 3 years. I've been single now. He was actually really good. I couldn't. We never even fought, not once in 8 years. We were more best friends than anything. But and to honestly say, I've been single, it'll be 3-4 years now, and I've dated twice.
Okay.
And never enough to really get to, I don't know what description would be, the too clingy kind. Always want my attention, and I'm sorry, I'm busy. I just can't give it.
I've dated that. Yeah.
Like
clingy, clingy and insecure.
Yeah, and I'm busy, man. Like I can't do it. And so, or anybody that's too questioning all my moves, like that ain't happening either. Like, dude.
No.
So yeah, I don't know.
We talked about that earlier too, about, I think there's a certain category of women. Both of you are very strong women, and unfortunately, I think in society that it's rare, or it's hard to find men that can appreciate strong women that are confident in themselves and know themselves, to know that that's a real benefit.
Yeah. I was on these dating apps, and I put I'm a heavy equipment operator. I put the picture of my equipment. Well, believe it or not, it's intimidating more men than it is complimenting me. Right.
Right.
I just said, you know what? I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to wait. Forget it. Stay single.
And it's crazy. We're in the 21st century. You wouldn't think that would be a problem, but
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's because they know that it's just my personality now. I mean, if you can operate equipment that size and I do all that I do all over the world, and I just don't put up with crap. Right. And I'm not easily influenced or manipulated. And especially coming from my background, I mean, I'm watching for red flags a mile away. Right. And
Sure. Yeah.
And if something comes up, I'm going to address it immediately, as opposed to, oh, it'll be fine. You know, you'll get better. I'll love him to death and it'll be, and hell no. No, you can't love anybody to change. Right.
You can't change anyone. That's absolutely true.
Right. So I'd rather address it head on and say, hey, you know, this is what I'm seeing and whatever. So maybe that's why I'm single.
No, I don't think the problem. I think part of the problem is there's two problems. The dynamic between, you know, there are a lot of good men out there that are tired of the same game that women are fighting. You know, everybody's fighting against the people that have screwed up the dance between men and women. And so a lot of good men give up and they're busy with their careers and stuff like that. Yeah. But there are a lot of men that I've talked to, they're like, I think part of the problem is when women say I'm a strong woman, that means something different to everybody versus what it really means, right? For what women are, strong women. And I think it needs to be defined more, because when women like identify that, there's a lot of men, especially as you get older, that are like, hey, I want a woman that's independent, that's got her own stuff, who's capable, confident, and it's not the games. But they've been playing so many games with, you know, women that are, you know, the opposite of all the games women have played with men. Sure. I think it takes an extra effort to identify. But one way I think you can do that is like what you just said is, I'm a strong woman and this is what it means to me to be a strong woman.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm looking for. How about you? What's your type and what are you looking for? Because there's been so many guys out there that's, you know, same thing. Everybody's got their complaints and frustrations and they're like, there's no good women out there. And I'm like, there's a ton of good women. There's more good women out there than there are good men.
Well, the thing, like in my case, is that my work schedule, a lot of men want women there every night to be able to go do things with or cuddle or whatever, right? Do activities. I'm gone, right?
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true.
You have to kind of adapt to my schedule or not. And I think, you know what, you'll always be happy to see me. You'll never get sick of me.
No, but the men that want strong women don't want that. They're busy too. They see, there's that expectation that everybody has that, oh my God, one side or the other says, oh, you want this every night. My girlfriend's a very strong woman. And she made it really clear when we first met, I'm a strong woman. I have my own business. I have this, I have my friends, this and this and this. I don't have time to screw around. I don't have time for games. I don't have time for BS. And this is what I'm about. What are you about? Now, I had the advantage of having written the book and I handed it to her and I said, well, how many guys show up with an owner's manual? Here you go.
I wish they did.
You know, and I go, well, and I said, you know, the premise of this book is, you know, you choose men. Women choose men. And so here's who I am. And you tell me, you know, I mean, obviously we're attracted to each other and we're having a glass of wine, but at the end of the day, you need to tell me if you're interested or not. If you're not, let me know. Don't waste your time. Don't waste mine.
Yeah, exactly.
And she started laughing. She's like, oh my God, this is such a refreshing conversation. Like, you're not going to take it personal or upset if I don't choose you. No, because that's how it works. Yeah, and I think a lot of men know it works that way, but you got to get past that wall layer between expectations. Because there's, like I said, there's a lot of men out there. I don't care if they're a janitor or a CEO that we've talked to that sit there and go, I have no time for the game. I hate the game. I hate the chase. It's not the way it used to be.
Oh, it's still the same game. It just kind of
absolutely. But it's all the BS that, you know, the history of like.
Oh, I know. That's why I decided. That's why I quit the whole dating app thing. I can't stand it. It's like, oh my God, superficial bull. Excuse my language, but I can't. I don't have time for that. I'm like, forget it. Just forget it. What happened to ever meeting somebody in the grocery store?
Yeah, exactly. Do you think that these games are played because it's a way of people putting up walls or something?
I think it's just because society sets this expectation and for lack of thinking and being proactive and someone else saying, try something different. People just assume that's what you do. Like when I was, before we got in this relationship, when we did the pig book the first time, I was in Toronto and other places that I was dating at the time. And I had this little pink pig keychain on my keys and I'd set it on the bar. And of course, women would comment on it, like, was that for your nephew or your nieces or something? I said, no, I'm doing this book. And I'd just say, look, here's the thing. The book opens up a possibility of cutting through the bullshit to go, look, if guys Guys' role is they got to feel confident who they are and say, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is who I am. You're going to pick it or not. If you don't, that's fine. No skin off my back. We haven't wasted each other time. And then it would happen. People would be fascinated. It would start a dialogue, because then the stigma of, I got to keep my ego up and act like I'm something I'm not and try to attract them. It's like, no, I'm busy. You're busy.
Makes sense.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com. Kathy Tuccaro is nothing short of amazing. She not only drives the world's biggest truck as a heavy equipment operator in northern Alberta, Canada. She's an international motivational speaker and the author of Dream Big, an autobiography about overcoming a lifetime of trauma and abuse that led to dreams of success. Kathy inspires people the world over to change their lives and improve their self-worth. Her book will change your life. She's passionate about personal growth and believes anyone can change their circumstances and overcome their obstacles if they believe in themselves. Her life will amaze you and seriously inspire you. Be sure to order a copy of her book, Dream Big, on Amazon.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
Now, the 6 pig states, this applies to every pig, am I correct? Happy, hungry,
Yes.
hurried, horny, angry, tired.
Yes.
So what's the best pig state to have? I guess it depends on.
Again, it comes back to you, right? You choose, right? It's being able to understand, not control, but understand. Like if you need, like some of the communication tips that tied in with the states are quite interesting, which is, again, if someone's hungry, even if you're a woman and you're hungry, you're not going to be in a state of mind to listen to a deep conversation and deal with something. Nope. Same thing as if you're tired, or if you're hurried at work and it's like, call up, hey, I wanted to talk to you about our relationship. You're like, hey, I'm in the middle of a crisis right now at work. I can't deal with this right now. Let's pick a better time.
Right. So,
again, it's, women are much more sophisticated about communication and timing and knowing. I mean, look, do you have dogs? I'm sure you've had dogs in your life.
I've had 2 dogs, but I primarily have had cats. Yeah.
Okay. Well, even cats, right? You know when your cat needs to pee and you know when it needs to eat. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not a mystery. You look at the cat and you're, well, he's hungry.
Right.
It's like you're not going to go play with the cat when he's hungry because he's not going to spend a minute with you. It's like, I want to eat right now. Mm-hmm. Men are simple like that, right? We're simple. We're not complex. So same thing with the state of mind. Like, okay, what state is he in? Does he have low blood sugar? Carry a Snickers bar in the bag with you, and here, use Snickers before we have the conversation, right?
So women should carry around maybe a little bag for their pig. He's like, here, honey, eat this.
Yeah, carry a piggy treat. He's low on blood sugar.
Yeah,
like you do with a toddler, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it sounds. I mean, men hate hearing that. They're like, "Oh, I'm not that simple." Yeah, you are. It really is. Just accept how you are. It's like, when you're hurried and you're in business and so you don't have time for that. You need to, be in the state of mind to deal with it. So be in the right state.
Sure. Well, this is good insight for women to know when they can approach their pig and get the best result, because obviously you don't want an ornery pig.
So now we're going to have all these women going home analyzing their spouse.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. I think I mentioned when we talked before, when we were setting this up, when we were doing this and I was flying around the world doing things, I met I met an older couple that was celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary from England, out of Wales. Cute little couple. They were about 4'8", 4'6" each. Been married 50 years, sat next to them in the lounge, striked up a conversation. and they were out here and doing the tour around the US for their anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned about the book, and I said, well, maybe you guys could tell me some secrets. You guys obviously got it right. So I gave them a copy of the book. Long story short, they're like, can we write you after? Yeah, sure. The wife's like, can I ask you questions? I'm like, yeah, you've already got this right. It's like, it's supposed to be fun. You know, the art of losing the fun of communicating and having a relationship. That's what it's all about. But sure, you can write me. And so sent them a book. 3 weeks later, I get a note from the man on email saying, hey, the wife's got the book. She's posted notes in the corner. And she's writing and highlighting it. And she's looking at me while I'm doing things. What am I supposed to do? I said, just be yourself. You know, she's just observing you from a different perspective.
Sure.
But just be yourself. Don't change anything. And then, of course, she wrote questions. And I said, yeah, it's just, you're overthinking this. Everybody overthinks it. It's like, have fun. Everybody gets sucked into the emotion of drama and everything with things these days. Like, step back. Relationships are supposed to be fun. And you can use the differences in communication and your states to figure it out.
I think people have a hard time lightening up today.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh, yeah. 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 Like my girlfriend likes to, she clearly explained to me before and again, and I missed it. And I had to, admit I missed it. But when I get frustrated or she gets frustrated, she needs a hug. And I'm like, when I'm in my state of anger or frustration, the last thing I want to do is hug anybody.
Sure.
But she's very clear. And I'm like, okay, we communicated and bridged a gap. It's okay. She goes, well, that's how I open up and be able to deal with things. Okay, got it. I can do that.
So has this book with people who've read that, have they told you this has improved their communication, not only in dating, but in their relationships as well? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have a link in the book. We actually got interviewed. Playboy Radio interviewed us when we did the book before and had us come out to their studio in LA. And Very it was actually the highest rated radio show at the time, with all the call-ins and stuff. And basically they said after we did the interview, they said, you need to write an article for the magazine on sex. And so we thought about it and we came up with an article. It didn't get accepted, but we ended up saving it and calling it the hidden chapter. And so we would send it out to people and things. And so then people would write back and say, I got the book, had this, talked to my wife. We learned some new things. We tried some things. We laughed most of the time about it because we just were so damn serious before. Says, but that hidden chapter really got our attention. And so last year when I did this speech with the women's group here, same thing, sent them the book and then sent them the chapter after. It's just a small article really, but it's quite direct and quite funny. And said, well, I'll send you the thing you can distribute to the group and then you give me feedback. And so then about a month later, the lady called me up. She says, do you want the feedback? I said, absolutely. She goes, everybody loved the book. They had good laughs with it. And then the hidden chapter was a real hit. And you're credited with saving 2 marriages and 3 relationships and 5 guys want to buy you a beer. How very cool is that? That's great.
So, again, the whole idea is, and I won't tell you all about it because we can do another session on that if you want later. But basically it's about communicating and having a dialogue on topics or issues that are frustrating for both people. And once you say, okay, let's divorce the energy between us and make it about the document or the book, or let's look at it from this perspective, it just opens up dialogues on both parts. Sure. And perceptions. I have a brother who's got 5 kids and was married 14 years. And I sent him the article just to get a feedback on. And unfortunately his wife's we're not very friendly together. And I know she doesn't like me and I'm not really care about her, but be that as it may, she got on the phone and was reading the article at the same time to my demise. and I'm like, oh no, I'll never get invited for Thanksgiving now. And it was about sex, between a couple and stuff. And they started talking while I'm on the phone. And I'm like, hello, I'm on the phone. Hello. I can hear you.
Right.
And all of a sudden they're talking and it opened up this dialogue and she was like, oh, I didn't know this. Oh my God, this is so amazing. I've never, oh my God. And then she's, my brother's like, so what level are you at? Talks about the levels of communication and interest in sex and talking about it and being open about it and communicating and scale from 0 to 5 and, 0 is never do it. And 5 is can't get enough of it, somewhere in between. And he's like, so, if she reads the article, he goes, so honey, where are you at? and 3 is like, I like it, but I don't like talking about it. And my brother's like, he goes, I'm kind of a 3, but I want to be a 4. Where 4 is I love to talk about it with my partner and communicate what works and doesn't, not have all the stress. And my brother's like, I had you at a low too. You know? And so then all of a sudden they hang the phone up. I got to go. Click. And the next day he calls up. He goes, I got to tell you, as a brother and as a man, he goes, for 14 years, I have tried everything to have that damn dialogue. He goes, you've got to get that thing published. It just opened up a whole new world.
And it's funny because it seems like sex is one of the most misunderstood topics in a relationship. It's an important component, but somehow it's still a mystery.
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of semantical problems between men and women, and it's probably more so men than women, because women are very clear when they're communicating what they want and talk about. And guys, most guys, because of their egos and maybe their frustration, they take a semantical definition of what they think that means.
Right.
Versus really understanding and communicating. Oh, what does that mean to you? Just like I said, when you say you're a strong woman, to me, what I hear is, okay, what is that? I can say what I think it means, but what do you mean by that? What does that mean, being a strong woman?
Being independent and knowing your own mind and being able to make decisions and not being a doormat, going after things, being considerate, taking initiative, not taking a back seat. I guess, those are just some of the characteristics, but yeah.
Right. Okay. So then as a man hearing that, I think most men would sit there and think, oh my God, she doesn't need anything from me, the way they most would hear it. Mm-hmm. Versus then adding on to that going, and this is what I need in a relationship or in a dating thing, or what I'm looking for in a partner.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think people evolve, from teenage years as they go through the decades and some of this being independent and strong. I mean, you could still be a great team player.
Right. But I think men don't evolve as fast as women do. And so I think there's a catch-22 in that women give up. Unfortunately, you have to explain it a little more to the ape mind of a man. Yeah.
You have to speak slowly and carry a big crayon.
Yeah. So you have to enunciate your words and open your mouth more and say. So what that means to me is I need a strong man that doesn't get intimidated by me being independent.
Right.
And there's guys out there, but so here's the flip side of the conversation that women have about being strong is men, as they get serious and authentic about being in a relationship, the worst thing they want is a clinger, someone that clings on and doesn't have independence and, doesn't have a life. Mm-hmm. And so flip the coin about how they're perceiving it. And there's a balance in there somewhere, right? So again, real pigs and real guys want the same thing you do. It's just the semantics of how do you get there and what does that really mean? Because they're out there. We've talked to hundreds of them. They're out there and they just give up. They're like, there's just, they hear sometimes they hear the frustration and game versus, wow, here's a confident woman and she can allow me to be a man and she can be a woman. She can be feminine and a woman and independent and I can be a man and strong and do my man thing.
Yeah. Takes out all the intimidation. This is a great conversation starter, Michael. Where do people find your book? This is a great way to really open up the perspectives and I think you'll help a lot of people.
Thank you. It's on Amazon right now under Know Your Man. You can go on there and order it. And I believe we have the Kindle version and the website, unfortunately, hasn't got back up yet. It'll be up soon, where they can go and register and then we can send them the hidden chapter. We left it out of the book because it's a little racy and, we have different audiences. So people have already started, where's the website? I want to get the hidden chapter so we can send that to them as well. But it's, again, the whole idea of the premise of the book and what we did it for was just to foster communication from a different perspective and do it with humor and do it with fun. And, like I said, most, 95% of the men we've engaged think they read it and they go, this is stupid. This is so obvious. Women all know this. I'm like, oh, no, they don't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then women read it and they go, I have never looked at it from this perspective. It's hysterical and it's fun. It's lighthearted. And it again, some of the couples we've met when they've done it, oh my God, it's been just a joy to hear break through walls and laugh at themselves and try different things. I mean, even on the communication tips that we did when we did the interview we did with I don't know, 300-400 men, what the question was like, what 3 to 5 things would you tell your partner or wife without it that works for you in communication as a man that you would say to her if you knew there was no retribution for saying it?
I think this book is a great way to approach things, and people are going to get a great perspective. When they have fun, I think that they're going to be able to absorb the information better too. So people should just Google Know Your Man, correct?
Yeah, just type Know Your Man, Amazon, or Amazon Know Your Man. It'll pull up right there, and you can order it online. And I think, like I said, believe there's a Kindle version out now as well. And
excellent. I really enjoyed talking to you, Michael. And I love this book. It's self-effacing, it's funny, and it's informative.
Excellent.
This has been fun. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It was great talking to you, and we'll talk again here in the future.
That sounds terrific. Thank you, Michael. I wanted to thank everybody for listening to this great episode. And if you want to hear more episodes of Women Road Warriors or learn more about our show, be sure to check out womenroadwarriors.com. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at sjohnson@womenroadwarriors.com.